everyone, and welcome to our Localscapes Creating Your Ideal Yard class. This class is really designed just to give you a brief introduction into how you can actually accomplish creating your ideal yard. We're not going to go too in-depth into any specific area, but we are going to introduce you to all of our great resources and kind of help you get a head start on your project. So we're going to start by talking about Localscapes, which is how you can design a great water-wise yard for Utah. Then we're going to move into the Conservation Garden Park, which is just where you can come and see examples. It's a beautiful water-wise garden located in West Jordan. And then lastly, we're going to talk about Utah Water Savers, which is how you can get paid to actually make a water-wise landscape. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, my name is Madeline Soltz. I'm a conservation coordinator here at Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, which means I work directly with all of our conservation programs. I help run the landscape incentive program, so if you're looking to actually apply for the incentive, please, you can always feel like you need to reach out to me. Always happy to help. So, like I was saying at the beginning, we're going to teach you the 3 major stepping stones to achieving your ideal yard. So the first is how to design a Utah-friendly landscape with Localscapes. Then we're going to see examples and teach you about how you can take classes and get more information at Conservation Garden Park. And then lastly, we're going to walk through how to get incentives for installing a water-wise landscape with Utah Water Savers. I wanted to start out just by giving you all a brief introduction into who Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District really is. So, Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District's mission is to deliver quality water to our service area every day. We have 15 member agencies, which you can see they're all highlighted here. We take up a large part of the Salt Lake Valley, and we're a wholesale water provider, which means we sell water directly to the city, who then resells it to you. We do have a few retail areas, but for the majority of what we provide, it's wholesale water. And what we do is we are a culinary water provider to these cities. So culinary water essentially is clean drinking water that comes out of your tap. In many cases, it also helps to water your landscape and help you do your laundry. We do not deliver secondary irrigation water, so we provide water exclusively to the built environment mostly. And then we have 2 main reservoirs, which are Jordanelle Reservoir and Deer Creek Reservoir, which I didn't know before I started working here, but I think it's really cool because I love to recreate in these areas and I think they're beautiful, and it's cool knowing that that's where our drinking water is also coming from. So you might be asking yourself, okay, if Jordan Valley Water is in charge of delivering water to people every day, why does conservation matter to them if they're making money on our water bill? So, because our mission is to deliver quality water every day, that means that as populations rise, we have a bigger commitment to deliver water to all of the new residents of Utah. So here is a population history and projection map. On the left-hand side, you can see that's population in numbers. And then on the x-axis at the bottom here, you can see that that is the year. So right now, you can see our population is absolutely booming. And most of these numbers are actually based just on birth rates, and immigration isn't even calculated into this. So Jordan Valley is facing this challenge of, if we're going to have such a big population, how are we going to be able to provide this clean, quality water to all of these new citizens of Utah? Coupling with that, making it an even greater challenge, you can see that our average temperatures have been changing. So this is average temperature taken from the Salt Lake International Airport. And you can see once again on the y-axis, we have temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit, and on the x-axis, we have year. So this is really interesting graph. You can see that our temperature is very variable throughout the years, but in general, we are on an upward trend. So climate change is leading to our average annual temperature increasing, which leads to longer growing seasons. Essentially, you're going to start turning on your irrigation maybe a little bit sooner. Maybe you start turning it on in March, and maybe you don't turn it off until late October, which that translates to less water supply available and a greater need for more water in our landscapes. So if we're experiencing Augusts that are off the charts crazy temperatures, a lot of times what people will do is just water their lawns more to keep them looking green and nice, but that's directly affecting our water supply. And this is extremely prevalent when we look at the Great Salt Lake. So the Great Salt Lake is a terminal reservoir, which means all of the water in our basin will flow into the Great Salt Lake, but it'll also just stay. It doesn't have any outlets. And you can see on the left-hand side, this is the Great Salt Lake in 1986, I believe. And on the right-hand side, this is the Great Salt Lake in 2022. So you can see just how much our water usage has taken water that would have previously ended up in the lake, and we're using it in other places. So Jordan Valley wanted to take a deeper look at this, and what we did is we studied, how is our water that's being delivered actually being used? So on the bottom part of this graph, you can see that's the 40% area. All of that is indoor water usage. So that's things like your toilet, your faucet, a shower head, your laundry, if you have a leak, and any other miscellaneous things. And that stays pretty constant throughout the year. But once you take a look at our outdoor watering, which is that green 60%, there's a couple of really interesting things that are going on here. So one, 60% of our culinary water that we're delivering is being used directly onto the landscape. And you can see that we have a big peak here in like June, July, August on this graph. And then you can see once we're in like January and February and March, before our irrigation systems have been turned on, we're not using any more of that water. So to Jordan Valley Water, we look at this 60% of our culinary water being outdoor usage, and we say if we can lower that percentage, if we can get people to use less water in their landscape, that means we can prolong the need for new infrastructure projects in order for us to be able to deliver water, drinking water, to people. So essentially, we look at conservation as a water source. So that's a little bit about Jordan Valley Water and about the challenges that we're facing as a water district. So we're trying to combat, how are we going to service all of these new people, especially when our water supply is changing and we're using our water maybe not in the best way that we possibly can. Which is why Jordan Valley Water invented Localscapes. So Localscapes is a 5-step design method that will help you create a yard that works for you and also thrives in Utah. So here is a little illustration of what the traditional household water usage is in their landscape. So on the left, you see that this traditional yard uses almost 200,000 gallons of water per season, which is usually about 40 inches of water per season. Both of these lots are quarter-acre lots, and they're both applied with automatic sprinklers. And then on the right-hand side, you can see our Localscape, which uses about a third of that, coming in at just under 65,000 gallons per season. And you can see we're not changing the space all that much. Really, we're just prioritizing, do we need lawn everywhere? What's actually going to be used the most? We kind of help to strike a balance between landscape preferences of Utah and also something that's going to help you save water. So here's another look at that traditional landscape and then this Localscape. You can see in the traditional landscape, the lawn is the default ground cover here. You can see there's lawn in the park strip. My least favorite piece of lawn is that little bit up by that planting bed near your front walkway. And realistically, how much of this lawn are you actually using, and how much of it are you just simply watering? So you see that usable lawn area is kind of in the center. That's maybe the only place you'd like toss around a football or sit under your nice trees and read. And all a Localscape is doing is just highlighting that usable area of lawn and then getting rid of all the other areas of lawn that you're not using and just wasting money and time maintaining. So you can see we're not anti-lawn in any way, shape, or form. We just want the lawn to be in the best spot and also designed for the area. So in a Localscape, lawn is not the default ground cover. It's actually what you're going to design first. And you also don't need to use lawn by any means, but a lot of Utahns want lawn, so we want to make sure that we have an option for you. And then the planting beds or everything else around it, that's going to become the default ground cover, rather than in the traditional landscape, the lawn being the default ground cover. So here is a picture of this actually in real life. So this landscape transition occurred over several seasons, and the homeowner chose to have a landscape layout and plantings designed by a professional, but they also self-installed the entire project, which is another great example of how a Localscape, it can fit your own time scale, and it can also fit any budget. But this is after Localscaping, and you can see it just increases the curb appeal of this home instantly. They're using a third of the water. It still looks beautiful and lush and inviting, and I would actually argue that this looks more lush and inviting than the first one. Let me just hit you with the first picture again, just to really hit that home. You can see how bland and boring and just how much lawn is there. Yeah, this homeowner did a great job mowing the lawn. I love the diagonal stripes going on, but I just feel like this localscape is just so much more inviting. So let's talk about all of the reasons why you might want to install a localscape. So one, localscapes are designed for Utah. They're designed specifically by Utahns for Utahns to hopefully make your landscape work more for you. You're going to increase your curb appeal. Localscapes is a design method that's easy to understand. We try to not overcomplicate things. We try to make sure it's pretty. You can apply it to pretty much any type, size, style of landscape that you'd like. If privacy is something that you're worried about, a localscape can help you increase your privacy. You can also have a phased installation. So like I was mentioning on that last slide, that homeowner decided to install it themselves. So they took a couple seasons to do it, but you can kind of break it up in chunks, like maybe start by transitioning your park strip or flipping your park strip. And if that goes well, then you can do your side yard, and you can break it up into chunks that way. Of course, they're going to be water efficient, which is one of the most important aspects to us as the water district. They're also going to lower your maintenance. So rather than having to continually maintain your landscape week after week by mowing the lawn, rather what you're going to be mostly focused on is you're going to do a larger spring cleanup in the beginning of the season and then have more time in the summer to spend time with your family and doing things that you actually like. Unless you love gardening like me, then you can stay in your yard as long as you want, forever. That's how I feel. But you're not going to have to routinely go out every Saturday and spend hours mowing your lawn. We're also going to help you improve your functionality. We want you to spend more time in your landscapes. We want you to love your landscapes, and we want you to have fun in your landscape. Localscapes will also help you simplify your irrigation, and it really can work for any budget. So now let's talk through the 5 different elements of a localscape. So the first and most important element is going to be your central open shape. This is the defining element of a localscape. If you are deciding to keep lawn in your landscape, that lawn area will be your central open shape. Otherwise, you can do a hardscape like a large patio, you can do a ground cover, you can do really anything you want. But the purpose of this central open shape is to contrast with your surrounding landscape so it gives your eye a place to rest. The next element are going to be gathering areas. So these are hardscaped spaces to gather with friends and loved ones. They're going to be patios and seating areas, fire pits and decks. We hope that these gathering areas help to invite you into your landscape more often. Our third element is going to be activity zones. So these are areas outside of lawn that are designed for your favorite activities. We've seen horseshoe pits, trampolines, gardens, hot tubs, chicken coops, play sets for the kids, just about anything you can imagine. This is really where your personality gets to shine through. The fourth element is going to be paths. So paths help to connect all the previous elements together, and they kind of helped you to move throughout your landscape, like it has this like motion to it. What I do want to call out is that lawn really hates being a pathway. It's kind of counterintuitive because we often think lawn, oh, we're playing soccer on it, we're doing all these sport activities, but really lawn can't handle that much foot traffic. So we try to avoid using lawn as a pathway. And then the fifth element is going to be your default ground cover, which is all this remaining space, which is going to become your planting beds. And it's the finishing touch to your landscape, just like how your activity zones are really personal and whatever you'd like to use. The planting beds are much similar to that, so that you can design them however you want. You can have a really green, lush-looking localscape. You can have a more desert-looking localscape. You can really kind of get funky with it, honestly, and do something really awesome. I do want to say real quick, the only 2 elements that are technically required for you to consider your landscape a localscape is going to be element number 1, the central open shape, and element number 5, the planting beds. So as long as you have a central open shape of something and then planting beds around it, we would consider that a localscape. So now I want to walk through a couple different examples of what these different elements are. We're going to move through this pretty briefly, so buckle up, and I promise if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not just you. But you can see in these photos, the central open shape, it can be a hardscaped area, it can be lawn, it can be a chat, it can be a gathering area. We've seen creeping thyme central open shapes. We've seen people use yarrow. You can use just about anything. It just needs to contrast from the surrounding environment. Here are some examples of gathering areas. You can see here, these areas, they're not irrigated, they're just for enjoying your outdoor space. You can do a bigger one for big family events and big barbecues. You can do smaller, like secret garden type of gathering areas. Fire pits, that's a big one people really enjoy. But these are just spaces that are designed for you to get outside and actually into your landscape. Next, we have activity zones. So activity zones are the places that are designed for outdoor work and play. They're located outside of the lawn area. The one photo that's a bit confusing on this slide is the trampoline. You can see around it, it looks like it's planted in the lawn, but it's actually in a planting bed, and all of those grasses are ornamental grasses watered with drip irrigation because this homeowner really liked the look of the trampoline in the lawn, but they didn't want to be overspraying onto their trampoline and just wasting that water. So I thought this was a really ingenious way of having that look, but still saving the water. So you can see here, you can kind of do whatever you want with an activity zone, make it personal, make it something that you're going to enjoy in your landscape. And then here are the pathways. There are so many different options for pathways. You can do solid concrete, you can do some chat, you can do some permeable surfaces. Pathways really, I think, elevate your landscape. They really help to make it look professional, make it look nice, and help people move through your landscape as well. And then lastly, here are some planting bed examples. You can see all these examples really vary from one another. We have some that are foliage focused, we have some that are bloom focused. One thing I'll say about planting beds is if you feel overwhelmed trying to design your own planting bed, don't stress about it. We have tons of great resources for you on our YouTube channel, which I'll cover in a bit later. But just know you're not alone, and we have tons of examples. So that was our brief introduction into localscapes. If you are feeling like that was really quick, don't worry, it's intended to be that way in this class, because really what we want to do is we want to point you to our full-length localscape classes. So we have on-demand classes, we have in-person classes, and we also have live webinars. So if you're looking to learn more about localscapes and how you can add one into your yard or transition your yard to a localscape, I highly recommend that you take some of our localscapes classes. You can find them on localscapes.com or conservationgardenpark.org. Localscapes University is one of our best classes. It's going to be the most comprehensive, kind of get you into the nitty-gritty of how to design these elements, different examples, considerations you should think about. If you need help designing your localscape, the Localscapes Design Workshop is another great resource. And our Localscapes Irrigation Workshop will really walk you through all of the different irrigation pieces that are in a traditional Utah landscape and then how to actually transition them over to localscaped irrigation. So now that we've introduced you to localscapes, let's introduce you to Conservation Garden Park, where you can see the localscapes design concepts come to life. And this is also where you can come to the garden to get inspiration for your own yard. So we're located at 8275 South, 1300 West in West Jordan, Utah. And I wanted to start out by giving you a little bit of history of Conservation Garden Park. So before the garden was installed, all of our 10 acres, we're 10-acre garden, was all lawn, which is like so counterintuitive of us as a water district to just have all lawn. So when you know better, you do better. And we installed this garden so that we could help and inspire other people to make these same changes in their landscape. So on the left is the before of what our land looked like. And then after, this was a picture right after the first installation of the garden. So it's just interesting to see the couple of different phases. The garden opened its doors in 2001, and we've been inspiring homeowners ever since. So we also have this great education center. This is the building where all of our staff works. It's also where you'll come if you're ever taking an in-person class, or you're interested in taking a tour, or just learning more about either localscapes or the garden or Jordan Valley Water in general. So we're always happy to see you and say hello. We usually typically receive about 40,000 visitors annually, and this education center was completed being built in 2012. We also have this Localscapes exhibit, which is a newer exhibit in our garden. It opened in 2019. And this is where the Localscapes design concept comes to life. You can see all 5 of the design elements on like a real scale. This is a real quarter-acre lot, and this lot matches exactly that Localscapes design plan that we were talking about earlier. And it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but if you look towards the back, you'll see a number 4 on a sign, and that's just an example of how all the different Localscapes elements are going to be labeled in this exhibit. So if you're, more of a hands-on learner like myself, coming to the garden and actually seeing this exhibit might help you kind of visualize better how you could do this in your own landscape. We also have a park strip exhibit. So this exhibit features 8 different example park strips, and they all range from different styles of park strip planting. They have different mulch types, all these different pathway types. So you can really kind of pick and choose and see, ooh, I like this, or I might not like this. And what's cool about park strips is we also have all of our designs for each of these 8 park strips for free, pre-designed for you, and that's on conservationgardenpark.org. So that way you don't even need to put any work into designing the park strip. This is one of the garden's most prized features. So this is our plant database. This is where you can find water-wise plants. And you can see here, you can either search by a common name or you can filter for what you're looking for. So here we're filtering for a perennial in the sun. You can even choose what time of year it blooms, what color of bloom. And then once you finish putting in all of your different filters, you'll be able to hit that search button, and then every plant that we recommend for northern Utah will be in this list. So it kind of goes through everything that we consider would be a good option with the parameters that you sent, which is really awesome. It's a great way to learn plants. This is where I've learned a lot of my plant nomenclature and things like that. But what's nice about it is it also, if you click on, like let's say you were to click on moonshine yarrow, it would pull up not only information about yarrow, but also the best practices of maintaining it, its mature size, its water requirement, its sun requirement, basically everything you need to know in order to have that in your landscape. Our conservation garden park is famous for its tours. So we host tours all year round in all of the different seasons, which is a really great way to see the garden. I highly recommend that you come back season after season, just so that way you can see what different plants look like throughout the year. Some plants might be unremarkable in one season, but then have a beautiful bloom in another. And so it's important that you come back so that way when you choose a plant for your own yard, you kind of know what to expect and you know what you're going to see all year round. We also are open daily. Our hours do change throughout the year just depending upon the amount of sunlight we have. So make sure to check our hours, but we are open daily and we are free. So we're completely free. You can come by anytime as much as you'd like, walk your dogs, or just come and see examples of things for your own yard. We also host tons of different styles of classes and events. So we have hands-on classes where you're actually going to have the opportunity to go out with our horticulturists and get your hands dirty and help them with a project. Like I said before, we have tours. We have a design workshop, which will help you design your landscape. But if seeing us in person isn't something that you want to do, that's totally fine. Thanks to COVID, we've been able to adapt and also offer a lot of our classes either on demand or as live webinars. A lot of our classes are listed on our YouTube channel, which is just Conservation Garden Park on YouTube. And there you can go and kind of go at your own pace, take whatever classes you want, maybe take tidbits from here or tidbits from here. And really you can learn everything that we would teach you in person, all virtually from wherever you live. So this is a great thing that you can do. Maybe West Jordan is a little out of your reach. Maybe you can't drive here in person, or you don't want to make the road trip to. You can still have access to all of our educational materials through either conservationgardenpark.org or through our YouTube channel. So now that we've gone through how to design your landscape with Localscapes, where to see examples and learn more at Conservation Garden Park, we're going to get into how to get incentives and rebates from UtahWaterSavers.com. So Utah Water Savers programs, we have 3 main water efficient programs. The first is going to be our Smart Sprinkler Controller program. The next is going to be our Toilet Replacement program. And then the third and the biggest one is going to be our Landscape Incentive program. So Utah Water Savers is really the hub for water conservation in the state of Utah. So no matter where you live in Utah, you can go onto this website, make an account, and see what you're eligible for there. So our smart controller rebate will pay you up to $75 if you install a WaterSense certified smart irrigation controller. And what's cool about smart controllers is they will automatically delay watering due to rain events or high winds or anything like that. They're going to connect to your local weather data and then be able to kind of help you conserve water that way. One thing I will say about smart controllers is they're only as smart as what you program them to be. So don't just think that you can go and buy a controller and install it and that you're going to be saving a ton of money on your water bill. You do need to also invest a little bit of time just programming it. But as long as your irrigation controller is WaterSense certified, you'll be eligible for this rebate. We also have a toilet replacement rebate. So at the beginning of this presentation, when I broke down indoor water usage and outdoor water usage, I don't know if you caught it, but actually the highest indoor water user is going to be your toilet, which I thought was really surprising considering I would think it's like the shower. I mean, my brother takes like 20-minute long showers. I'm like, how does that not use more water than flushing the toilet? But I guess it doesn't. So we will give you up to $100 for 2 toilets in your house, as long as you're replacing toilets that are pre-1994 toilets, and then you're replacing them with an EPA WaterSense certified toilet instead, which according to the EPA, toilets actually account for 30% of all household use, which I think is wild. So replace those toilets for sure. And now we'll get into the landscape incentive program. So this is really the bread and butter of what we do at Utah Water Savers. What the landscape incentive program is it's a statewide program where we will offer $3 per square foot of lawn replaced with WaterWise landscaping. So you must have living and well-maintained lawn to be considered eligible for this program, and please don't remove your lawn prior to project approval. We do have to come out and we have to do an initial visit and take pictures and verify that you do have living lawn in order to be eligible for the incentive. But as long as you have living lawn and you haven't started your project yet, please call us out and we would love to absolutely help you pay to make a more water efficient landscape. As a part of the landscape incentive program, we're also offering a switch to drip program. So if you have mature planting beds in your landscape and you're looking to switch them to drip, we have a program for you too. You can earn up to 50 cents per square foot of planting bed converted from overhead spray to drip irrigation. And this, once again, is going to be an add-on to the landscape incentive program, but it's a really great opportunity to kind of transition any planting beds that your overhead spray just isn't working. Maybe you have mature shrubs and they're blocking the spray, or for whatever reason, you can save some money, save some water, and get paid for it too. And then lastly, we are also offering a tree bait this year where we will offer $100 per tree planted in your project area up to 5 trees. If you're participating in the landscape incentive program, you'll be eligible to participate in the tree bait, which is really exciting. We're just rolling this out this year in 2024. And the only caveat I'll say with this is you'll need to keep your tree tag and submit that at the end of the process. That way we can kind of verify which tree you purchased and things like that. And you'll also want to avoid trees on our do not plant list. And all of that information can be found on utahwatersavers.com. Alrighty, so now that we've covered our 3 main stepping stones, I just want to leave you with a few resources so that you feel empowered to go out and get some more education on how to actually apply these stepping stones. So the first is going to be our Localscapes work group. This is awesome because this is a place where people who are actively doing landscaping projects, or they're a professional in the industry, or they have done a localscape in the past, you can all chat and talk to each other and kind of get advice person to person. So that's on Facebook, and it's just called the Localscapes work group. The next is going to be our photo gallery. So you can go to this QR code here. This is where we're going to have public access to all of our class handouts, to see completed projects, and then also you can search on this photo gallery for a city or for certain different criteria that you want. The next, obviously, is going to be our websites, so utahwatersavers.com. That's where it's going to be a one-stop shop for all of your water conservation rebates and all the incentive programs in the state of Utah. And if you'd like more help, you can always feel free to contact us. You can contact us either at info@localscapes.com, call the Conservation Garden Park directly, or reach out to any of the Utah Water Savers staff. And then that is all that I have for this presentation. So I hope you felt like you learned with Localscapes, you can see examples at Conservation Garden Park, and then now you know that you can get rebates and incentives from UtahWaterSavers.com. So like I said at the beginning, this isn't really a comprehensive view into any one of these three things. This is more just an introductory class, so you can kind of get the feel for all of the different programs we offer and just really see how much we have to offer you if you are looking to transition your landscape to something more water-wise. So please feel free to reach out. It's been awesome chatting with you, and I hope to see you at the garden soon.